What if I told you you only needed one story to be able to answer almost every single interview question that an interviewer could throw at you? So before we get into that, let's look exactly what the interview is. The interview's a meeting of two people, panel of people, to look at compatibility, to look for various things. The interview is looking to see whether you can do the job. Now, if you're sitting in an interview, they clearly think you can because they've read your CV. They're looking to see, do you want the job? So that's you demonstrating that you're enthusiastic for the job. And third, and probably most importantly, question is, do they like you? They've got to work with you. So there's no point employing someone they don't like. So they're the three main things they're looking at. And how do they achieve that? They're going to ask a series of questions, and there are five main types of questions. There's behavioural, situational, motivational, technical, and the curveball questions. Now, the curveball questions are the easiest to deal with because they're designed to get a little bit more of an insight into your personality. And they're just going to be strange questions which you answer logically. There are the technical questions. Technical questions I can't help you with, unless it's sales. Technical I can't help you with because I don't have the experience of your job. We have to trust that you have the answers to the technical questions and you're applying for an appropriate job. Motivational. We can look at that and we can determine why you're applying for the job and find the reasons behind your application to demonstrate to the interviewer that you are motivated and you want the job. There are little things we can do there, particularly with the questions, with the Q&A at the end of the interview. So we now move on to the two important areas, the situational and the behavioural. Now, behavioural is looking at past behaviours as the predictor of future performance. Things you've done in the past are going to predict how you behave in the future. And the situational questions, which are generally going to be more negative because they don't want to emphasize the negativity of your job, so they make them hypothetical. So it's a hypothetical question, generally looking at negative, how you would deal in certain situations. So we come back to the original point of one story to answer the majority of questions. A lot of the interview is going to be based around behavioural and situational. So the one story is going to be a win. But that win, by nature, is going to have a conflict. So we are really looking at a conflict story and a win story so we can satisfy the situational and the behavioural questions. So why is that one story important? How does that help you? So instead of looking at hundreds of answers for hundreds of questions, you're looking at one story that we can select different elements to answer whichever question's coming at you. There are lots of different ways of asking the same question, so when we download a list of 100 questions, you'll see that lots of questions are very, very similar. They're looking for the same thing. When did you succeed? When did you fail? If you've got a nice story that incorporates both, you're going to be happy talking about the failure because ultimately it's a success. It doesn't need to be so obvious for the interviewer. We don't need to demonstrate that or tell them that it's exactly the same story. We're just pulling the elements that describe that situation. It ensures that you can be clear and succinct for each of the questions. You're not going to ramble. You're going to be clear. The answers are going to be short. You're going to answer the question and you're going to be comfortable. You're not going to be shaken. That it doesn't matter how many times, how they phrase the question to check up on it. Your answer is going to be the same. As you build through the interview, all your answers are going to connect together. They're going to interlink. There's going to be a logic there, so you're not going to contradict yourself. If you answer what you believe is the strongest response for each of the questions, there is a strong probability that you could contradict yourself. But if you're looking from one story, there's never going to be a contradiction. Okay, so you are going to have clarity You're going to be unshakable. You're going to have that confidence. And that confidence is important. But because if you know the questions that are coming and how you're going to answer them, you open up that meeting, you walk into the room with confidence. And that's the third area that the interviewer's looking for. Do they like you? Can they work with you? If you go in nervous and shy and anxious, that's going to come through in your body language. They're not really going to like you. They're not really going to see you in a positive light. If you're confident, you'll have the body language. If you're confident, you're more than likely going to be smiling. If you're confident, you're going to be relaxed. And that's going to come across in the interview. If you know the answers, you only have to think about one thing. You're not going to be surprised by any of the questions, and you're not going to have to think hard about any of the answers. So one question is going to give you the answer, or one story is going to give you the answer for almost any question that the interviewer can throw at you. Of course, there's going to be the odd exception. But on the whole, one story will suffice. If you want more information, there are downloads in the links below. We've got storytelling, we've got basic interview, we've got more in-depth interview questions, we've got face-to-face meetings. So we can take it and look at whatever level you want and how much involvement you want. The self-study, the self-analysis is straightforward. It's just information that you can find, and it's collated into forming a story, looking and practicing the questions. Is that going to be the best story? That's down for you. If you want face-to-face, if you've got an interview coming up in the next few days and you really want that extra bit of clarity, get in touch. We can organise something and have face-to-face meetings. Right up to the top level where we have the full hit, where I promise to work with you until you get the job that you want. That's unlimited contact until you get the job that you want. I mean, come on, a little bit silly from my point of view, but that's the level of commitment I have. Also, if you want more information, like and subscribe. There's more videos floating around. I try to post some shorts quite regularly and at least one video a week. So I look forward to speaking soon. Like, subscribe, and see you soon.